Hello and welcome to the Utah Film Pod. My name is Josh Terry. I'll be your host, and my co-host, Danny Hatch, will be along shortly, along with our old friend Mark LaRocco, as we give you the 2022 Oscar preview. Broadcast is coming up this weekend, and we've got plenty to say about that. But before we get to that, I'd like to take some time to talk about the new offering on the big screen this weekend, which is The Lost City, starring Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum. It's kind of a rom-com adventure, quite similar in more than one way to Romancing the Stone, if you remember that one from the 80s, back with Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner. This is kind of a similar setup where Sandra Bullock plays a writer named Loretta Sage, and she has spent her career writing romance novels. And she's actually had a lot of success with one particular series with some specific characters. And Channing Tatum plays Alan, who is a model and happens to be the model who is used for the cover of all of Loretta's books. So they have kind of an awkward, uneasy relationship because Loretta doesn't particularly want to be a romance novelist. She actually had a more traditional, maybe more academic writing aspirations early on, as we learn more about as the movie goes on. And they are about to embark on a book tour where she has to promote her latest book in the series, and Alan comes along because as much as the fans love the books, they actually seem to kind of adore and love Alan, the beefcake, even more. And as they are about to set off on this new tour, Loretta gets kidnapped by a super wealthy, I wouldn't quite call him a super villain, but he is played by Harry Potter. We got Daniel Radcliffe as Fairfax. And as it turns out, Fairfax believes that Loretta is the key to finding this lost treasure. And this kind of ties into Loretta's side interest and actual expertise on ancient treasures and interpreting runes and such. And so the long and short of it is that Loretta and Alan both wind up out in the on an island in the Atlantic Ocean, trying to find this lost treasure and trying to evade Fairfax and his evil henchmen. And it's, kind of a romantic comedy set against this, tropical adventure. So again, if you've seen Romancing the Stone, it's kind of the same thing. And so that can be good and bad, right? Because it's effectively, the same idea, which means it's not really the most original concept out there. And honestly, the story didn't do a whole lot for me either. I really like the idea and the cast, the characters. It's a lot of fun. This is really the kind of movie that is going to be carried or is going to fall based on its lead roles. And fortunately, Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum seem to have a lot of fun together, and they have pretty good chemistry. And so I think for the most part, people kind of enjoy this as a easily dismissed rom-com adventure that, with a little more distance and perspective, you realize could have been a lot better. After kind of a fun setup and a pretty decent, finale, most of the middle just kind of didn't really do it for me, and it was kind of tough to hold my attention, frankly. Now, outside of the highlight of Bullock and Tatum, the real draw to this movie, I don't know that I would say this is worth spending full price to see it alone, but Brad Pitt plays a pretty. It's more than a cameo. It's definitely kind of a supporting role, but he has a featured part in the film that if it's not worth the price of admission by itself, it's probably the closest you're going to come to a real draw, and it's a lot of fun. So I would say that for that alone, you won't feel like you've thrown your money away, but it's probably not going to leave you with the most satisfied feeling either. There's some decent action sequences, and this is obviously a lot more based around kind of comedy and romantic chemistry and stuff like that, and those kind of elements, just based on the cast and the people you have involved, they're present, but not to the degree that the fairly uninventive story really makes up for its own shortcomings. Because it's really, it felt to me like one of those movies where you had some really interesting parts with some great potential that were kind of put through the motions and didn't really add up to what they definitely should have. It's fun to have, Daniel Radcliffe does a good job. He's not exactly the most menacing villain, but in a movie like this, you're not really looking for a menacing villain per se. You just kind of need an antagonist. And again, it's really, Brad Pitt that kind of steals the show here. So overall, I would give Lost City 2.5 to 3 stars out of 4, probably leaning more towards the 2.5 rating. Now, in terms of the movie rating, it is PG-13, and it doesn't have a whole lot in terms of there's really nothing in terms of violence or profanity that's really out of the ordinary. There's kind of an extended joke involving leeches and Channing Tatum or his stunt double's backside that seems to go on a little bit longer than necessary. And so depending on your feelings about that, that could be off-putting or the main draw to the film, I guess. It just kind of struck me as, when you include something for comedy purposes, sometimes a quick shot is all you need. And then sometimes it just kind of seems like the shot just kind of goes on and on and on. And okay, we get the joke. That's okay. Wow, there's still a butt on screen. That's so, just for the sake of knowing, and you can judge accordingly. So The Lost City features Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum, somebody's backside, and a great cameo/supporting role from Brad Pitt. Okay, well now it's time to shift gears a little bit and talk about the quote-unquote big event that's coming up, he said sarcastically. We got the Oscars. And to have a little preview Oscar discussion type thing, we're bringing back our friend Mark LaRocco. Mark, welcome back to the Utah Film Pod.
Thank you.
Always so good long to have you.
Yes.
To have your insights. So here's my first question. Should we even care?
Yes.
About the Oscars?
I love the Oscars.
You guys, come on.
Danny and I are Oscar nerds. Probably.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
To be fair, there's such a history there. Like, I think I told you, that was one thing I loved about Life is Beautiful. The moment that he won the Oscar for that movie is just the most happy thing I have ever witnessed. There are these great moments. Or like for Good Will Hunting, when Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were like making up their thank yous on the spot because they didn't think they would win. Like, there are just so many great moments.
Or when they announced the wrong movie as the best picture and La La Land didn't actually win.
Yeah.
What a great meme.
What a great meme.
Because I almost feel like watching the Oscars is kind of like watching NASCAR, where like a lot of the people aren't really interested in the race; they're just interested in the crashes.
Yeah, I don't really like the cringy stuff when they have let's say a host that just obviously, or a presenter that just did not prepare, can't read any of the words, or the timing on their jokes is off because they probably looked at the teleprompter one time. I don't really appreciate that. I love it when they have really funny, engaging hosts that have topical humor and maybe a little bit of edgy humor, like the Ricky Gervais
that's why
stuff,
I've liked. That's exactly what I was going to say. That's why I've loved the Golden Globes a little more than the Oscars in recent years, because they'll bring on Ricky Gervais and he just nails it every time.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, he skewers everybody in the industry.
Oh,
everyone
so
in the
good.
room. Yeah, it's
so good.
It's not pandering jokes for the people in the room. It's he
but
says
pandering
he does
to the audience.
Right, he says he does the jokes for the 200 million people watching at home, or probably more like 20 million, or I don't know.
I was going to say
Oscars now. It's
two-thirds
like
of the
million.
population of the United States.
Yeah, no, I
watching
can't remember the number he said, but yeah, it was. I mean, the Oscars and Golden Globes used to get pretty good ratings. I think those days are long gone.
Well, and that's, but isn't that kind of the hard question though? Is that are the declining ratings more symptomatic of the fact that people just don't watch TV collectively as event television the way they used to, or is it because people are tired of being preached to? And my answer is it's a combination.
Yeah, it's a combination.
It's always
I think more. It's actually a second and third thing. I think the first thing it's not, because you can look at ratings of NFL games, Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, the Super Bowl, they're still really, really high. And when you look at TV ratings, I mean, on any given month or week, most of it is going to be NFL games, most of the top rated shows. So for a live event, which the Oscars are, a live event where people are going to win and lose, just like a football game, they just don't do well. And so I think it's the second explanation, which is the sort of woke political nonsense and people having to share their political opinions or constantly talk about diversity when they're talking about an award or a movie or who's nominated. I mean, it seems to be you have to just hear it all the time, Not that it's a bad thing, it's just the number one topic, it seems like. I think people get a little tired of that. And then the other problem, I think the third problem is, if you look at movies that are big-time Oscar winners, even 15, 20 years ago, like The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, which was the biggest movie of the year and won 11 Oscars, or Titanic in 97, the 98 awards, or, and the last few years, a lot of not only the winners, but all the nominees are movies that hardly anyone has seen. Hardly any just like normal Joe Schmo off the street has seen, so they don't have any reason to watch the ceremony unless they want to see some funny banter between actors, or So that's my theory.
You're the next Adele Dazeem moment.
Yeah, Adele Dazeem from John Travolta.
I also think there haven't been like a lot of wow factor movies, and maybe it's because we're so used to seeing a lot of huge things like the special effects in Dune and stuff like that. Like, it's this huge big scale, but it's like we're so used to that it's like you can't be wowed like how we were with Lord of the Rings when it first came out, or Titanic. Like,
yeah,
I think we need to have these, I don't know, maybe a higher caliber or something, like something that is more wow factor.
We need to, and we need it not to be superhero movies. That's the problem, is so many of the big budget movies are deliberately spent on movies that are kind of B movies. Like, I think Ebert described them once as like B movies with A movie budgets. So those are never going to be win or be nominated for the Oscars, other than the occasional Black Panther or something that was nominated and actually won a few Oscars in sort of in the technical categories. So you just don't see that anymore. All that the money goes toward so many of those superhero movies, and then with how well Spider-Man No Way Home did, that's just once again reinforced that a lot of the money is going to go toward those movies because it just blew everything out of the water for the last 4 months.
Right.
Other than the Batman.
Well, and kind of a related kind of issue. You mentioned Lord of the Rings, and when that trilogy came out, it was just really, really unique to have such a big kind of franchise fantasy production to have a movie come out every year, right? Because they were all filmed at once over like a year and a half, and then they spent the next 4 years, 5 years doing post-production. But what I remember as a kid was, part one's going to come out this year, and I'm going to have to wait 3 years for the next one, and then 3 years after that for the next one. And the big franchise things, it wasn't like every single year, let alone we're going to get, two or three Marvel movies this year.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to get 1 to 2 Star Wars movies this year. And we're going to get a couple of DC movies this year. And we're going to get a reboot of this, Terminator franchise this year. And so I think that part of it is that, it's just kind of the superhero thing is become kind of redundant. But I think it's also just that it's too much of a good thing. And, 8-year-old Josh would laugh out loud to think that there would ever come a time where I'd be sick of getting new Star Wars movies every year. But I don't think it's a good thing. You know, I think this stuff, it burns itself out.
Yeah.
And there's not as much of a reason to be excited when it's just, oh yeah, well, and then we'll get another one next year, and there'll be another one a year after that, and in the meantime, there will be 2 or 3 more of this, and oh yeah, there's gonna be some new Jurassic Park movies too, and so I think just kind of like the volume of it,
right? That's my complaint, or kind of what I was saying on another podcast about everything is now like a reboot or remake or a threequel.
Have you been cheating on us?
I was about to say.
No, this same podcast, I don't remember whatever number we're on, 14. But like it's if you look, see, I've done this before. I've gone to boxofficemojo.com, which they revamped their website to make it more confusing about a year and a half ago, unfortunately. But you can still do it. You can look up the year by year box office movies, like say the top 10. I mean, it shows all the movies, but you could just look at the top 10 box office draws basically since about 1982 or 83. And if you look at them right now, almost all of them are non-original IP. They're unoriginal content, like they're remakes or sequels or whatever, or Marvel movies, And if you go even 15 or 20 or 30 years ago, almost all of them are original movies, other than a Star Wars every 3 years in the early 80s, or and Back to the Future was original, but then there's this 2 sequels, and there's a few movies that are it's a sequel or whatever that's going to be the big movie of the year, but normally 7 or 8 out of the 10 biggest movies of the year were completely original, sometimes original screenplays. And that was exciting, I think. And a lot of those are the movies that are nominated for Oscars. Now it's so often, I mean, sometimes it's 1 out of 10 is an original movie. And so
that gets the big box office,
right? That gets the big box office,
and then
so,
Best Picture are going to be those ones that were original, right?
Right,
so,
right, yeah.
And no one saw those.
Yeah, a sequel never ever wins Best Picture, other than Lord of the Rings 3 and Godfather 2. And they're almost never even nominated.
Well, and Return of the King, the way I took it at the time was this was their way of awarding the
whole
entire
franchise.
trilogy.
Oh,
right?
Sure.
Because it wouldn't make sense to give Fellowship of the Ring Best Picture, and Two Towers for the same reason. But
which I kind of agree with. I usually don't like those sort of faux, lifetime achievement Oscars or whatever. Like we're really rewarding you for past work because we just like you so much. But that one, I was happy. I was really happy when that one won.
Sure.
Yeah. No, that was good. And and I think it's curious too, not to extend this particular discussion too long, but when you talk about it, I know that right now there is a really, really strong impetus to mine the nostalgia of our Generation X,
yep,
right?
Exactly.
And so when we're talking about remakes and reboots and stuff, a lot of times it's remakes and reboots of things that came out in the 80s, or even the 70s with Star Wars. And so it makes me think, okay, well, so 20 years from now, it's not going to be a nostalgia for our generation, right? Is it just going to be that, well,
nostalgia,
we're just going to keep remaking the same? Well, yeah, because what original franchises from, say, the 2000s are people going to want to go back and reboot? I mean, are there any? Are there any?
Excuse me, like our Twilight and Hunger Games.
Divergent and Twilight and The Maze Runner, and they could even do another Harry Potter.
Hey, let's put it this way: if somebody remakes Twilight 20 years from now, I owe you guys a taco. That's.
And
guys, get on it! Hurry!
Rob Pattinson's son would be Evan Cullen, and I don't even know if he has kids, but that's how it's got to be.
Well, he's got to get started. He's got to get on this.
Yeah.
Oh my
no, but
gosh.
because I think that there's a really significant factor is that we kind of rotate through the nostalgia for certain decades. Because when I was growing up, and I'm sure Mark, you noticed this a lot as well, there was a real high degree of affection for 1960s era popular culture, like especially with music and not as much with movies, but definitely with, music, the Beatles and classic rock radio and all that kind of stuff. And so, and I remember later on, it kind of became cool to reference the 70s and even disco for a little bit. And now, of course, the 80s is huge. I just read a book actually from one of my favorite authors on the 90s. And so I think that it would just kind of naturally go in that direction. But if we're not creating new franchises now,
what are we going to be?
What are the nostalgia people going to do in 20 years?
Fair.
So
superhero movies. That's going to be it.
Yeah. Yep.
Man, remember when we used to watch all these things?
So what about this year's Oscars? Who do you guys
What about
think's
this year's
gonna
Oscar?
win?
What about them? Okay. Well, so I have opened up. I've got the Oscars.org in front of me,
Same.
and we don't have to go through all of these, but I don't know.
Well, something funny. So I went through
Go ahead.
and I kind of just like picked my favorite in each category, except probably documentary, because I know nothing about any of this. But like I noticed for everything I was writing, I have my prediction, but then I have or maybe Dune for a lot of them. Because I feel like Dune did a lot of good things, but it's like they weren't quite the best in any of these. But I'm like, if this person doesn't win, I'm looking at the rest of the list, and Dune is probably the best. So it's just, I don't know. I thought that was a funny pattern popping up for me. I don't think I'd really pick them for anything, but they're a good runner-up.
Well, and Dune, that's a good example for you, like wanting to choose Dune or hoping that it wins. Like, that's the biggest box office movie out of all the ones that are nominated for Best Picture.
That's true.
And it's not even close. I mean, it's the only one to go over 100 million.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, because I'm looking through this list, and I'm definitely, I've seen a number of these movies and these performances, and I can vouch for the fact that they're good.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because I attend an Oscar party every year, and part of the tradition is that we always have to fill out our ballots, and I always just go through and I just Google, the Vegas odds for each category, and then I just pick out which one, and I usually do pretty well based on that.
Yeah.
Even though if I just had to kind of arbitrarily pick them myself, I would never be even close. Like I have no idea. I'm looking at the nominees for actor in a leading role, and
Actor in a leading role?
sure, actor, yeah, with
Okay.
Javier Bardem.
I can tell you who's going to win.
This is the one.
Yeah.
This is the one that I feel strongest about, and you
Okay.
probably know why, Josh. But it is
But
one.
because you're so into Will Smith. Or no, it was
That's a good
Javier Bardem, right?
No, okay, listen. Andrew Garfield, I've learned so much about with this role. And like, let me tell you, he deserves an Oscar anyway. I love him. But for this
So
role
this is who you
specifically,
want.
This is who I want. And who
Do you think he's going to win?
I think he should, because I think so here's the
I know
see.
you think he should. I know you want him, but do you think he's going to
I
win?
think he should, because here's the thing. I feel like actor in a leading role and actress in a leading role, it's always like who gives the most to their performances, right? Like who worked the hardest. That's why, like, Leonardo DiCaprio, that's how he finally got his Oscar.
He was like
Or,
eating
like-
raw bear
I know,
meat and
exactly.
stuff. Yeah,
Or like
to win an
Anne
Oscar.
Hathaway with Les Mis, she had her hair cut off, so it's like, it's
Such a
who's
sacrifice.
giving the most, right?
like that, Leonardo DiCaprio had to eat raw bear meat and like get hypothermia, and Hathaway had to get a haircut.
And but I feel like for these, like from what I can see with everyone listed here, Andrew Garfield, for a year he was like in vocal training. He didn't know how to sing beforehand. Something I heard about in reference to Les Mis, where it's like those who already had singing histories and everything, they were kind of the worse off performances in that movie, whereas those who received vocal training specifically for the movie, because they didn't have the bad habits or anything like that, like they sing a lot better. And like, let me tell you, Andrew Garfield's performance in Tick Tick Boom is incredible. His voice is amazing. Like, it's just so good. So I really do think he deserves that one. Out of
But
anyone,
who do you think's going to win?
I think he has to, because like out of anyone, I could see Javier Bardem.
It's
Like,
going to be Will Smith. But anyway, go on.
are you okay? But like, did you guys see King Richard?
No.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I just have read enough
It's
to
good.
know that.
He does
was
a
it
good
good?
job. He does a really good job.
No, he does an amazing job. It's just like in anything, I think he's great. But like, I don't know.
You don't have a crush on him, so
No, it's not the crush thing.
I'm
It's
sorry.
the
I'm sorry.
effort. Ugh. Anyhow, but like the same goes for Best Supporting Actress, who I
Should have been
think-
Ana de Armas.
Oh my gosh, you're killing me here. So
No, seriously, I thought she was awesome.
wait,
in
who
that.
did you say?
Ana de Armas in No Time to Die.
She's
in
also in
James Bond.
Knives Out.
You
Yeah,
wanna,
she's in Knives Out.
For her little cameo? Is she?
I know it was just about she was like there for 10 minutes.
I know, but
That was the best part of the movie.
okay, to be fair, that was the best part of the movie. But I mean, like, West Side Story. Ariana DeBose. Like, she
Yeah,
has
she's
to
good.
get...
You think she's going to get it?
She's
She
going
has
to,
to
yeah.
get it. Oh my goodness, that was incredible. Josh, these performances were so good.
Right.
They deserve to be recognized.
Here's the thing. It has nothing to do with how good the performances are. So if you want to have the will win, should win, conversation, the will win is really almost always, if you look at the history, it's based on who's got A, the momentum, the narrative, the story behind them, and also B, this is actually more the predictor, who has already won the big awards. So Will Smith won the SAG award, he won the BAFTA, he won the Critics' Choice. He's won the awards that are like precursors to the Oscars. And so it would actually be a big shocker if he didn't win Best Actor.
No, but Andrew Garfield got the Golden Globe.
Right, but there's 2 Golden Globes for Best Actor, right? There's drama and there's music comedy. They have more categories. And so, like, I think Will Smith will probably win. Now, I loved Andrew Garfield in Tick, Tick, Boom. I mean, he probably deserves it. That song, Therapy, is so hard to sing. It has these really, really fast parts that are not a lot of people can sing and sound good. And he and Vanessa Hudgens just kill it. And so he probably deserves it. Now, I thought all along it was actually going to be Benedict Cumberbatch. But because he hasn't been winning all of the other industry awards the last couple months, I think it's going to be Will Smith. Plus, there's probably a bunch of people in the Academy that just want to see Will Smith get up and give a great speech, like he's been giving. Has like referencing the Williams. No, he's only been nominated, I think,
that might
once.
be another factor.
No, twice.
Too.
Yeah.
He was nominated for Ali, and I think one other time. I was going to say,
that one, I'm not sure. I can't remember any others.
6 Degrees of Separation or one of those older movies, but I think he has at least 1 nomination, maybe 2. So yeah, I think he's going to win, but I think Benedict Cumberbatch or Garfield probably deserve it. I mean, Cumberbatch, so good in Power of the Dog. He trained for a long time. He really was kind of like this method actor because he's very, very mean in it. He's just cutting and cold and just biting to everyone around him. And they say it's like the complete opposite of his real personality. And he has to act like a Montana rancher. I mean, he's a British guy. I think when he gets really angry, the accent
kind of comes out.
Kind of gets away from him a little bit, maybe a tiny bit, but yeah. But I haven't seen Being the Ricardos or The Tragedy of Macbeth, so.
I saw Being the Ricardos. Javier Bardem definitely does a good job. I don't know that I saw anything that would make me say he was like the best of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Tragedy of Macbeth is like one of the most visually, like, it's this crazy black and white, really, really intense. And Denzel Washington, I think, does a really good job. And I have to say, I think, because for the life of me, I have no idea what he was talking about in this movie.
Yeah, I don't think I was.
That was some of the most impenetrable Shakespeare I've ever heard in my life.
I don't know if I would enjoy that. I know it's on Apple TV, so I do plan to watch it, but it's not high on the list.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. We're certainly not going to have enough time to get into all these categories like this.
Sorry.
Let's jump over. Let's look at how about actress in a leading role.
Well, I was thinking when you were talking about Javier Bardem, like, I think the big thing with Being the Ricardos was Nicole Kidman as Lucille Ball.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's my guess. That'll go there, but it could be Kristen Stewart for Spencer. She
did a really good job. Like, that one, I don't know. That was such a weird, because that was such a surreal movie.
Yeah, it was. It was in her head so much, and I didn't realize. I mean, it just took place like over a weekend. I wanted to like it more. I wanted to like her more because I'd heard so much about it, and I felt there were times where it was just kind of affected and over. She was almost overdoing it a little bit, but I mean, she's been nominated for a lot of things, and she's kind of the dark horse right now of that category. Like, she could win it. That was why. Here's one reason why this category is so tough to predict. For basically the first time ever in the BAFTAs, which usually has a lot of Oscar overlap, there were 5 completely different women nominated for Best Actress. None of these 5 were nominated to BAFTA. It was really bizarre.
Did Emilia Jones get nominated?
No, what was she in? Was that
She's
Coda?
Coda. She's the lead in Coda.
She might have actually.
And she was my choice overall. I
It
thought she was
it was
awesome.
like Joanna Scanlon. I know Lady Gaga was nominated there because a lot of people thought she would get
Yeah.
nominated for the Oscar. Um, I think maybe Amelia Jones was, but yeah, this is. So I've been hearing that Jessica Chastain may actually get it, and
I could
who
see
Which
knows?
that too.
which would be interesting because I saw that movie, and she gives a really interesting, like she gives a good performance, but I almost wonder if it would be undercut by the fact that it's such a cartoonish character that it seems like her performance is cartoonish. Does that make
Oh
sense?
yeah, Tammy
Where it's
Faye
like
looks.
instead of being,
She looks like a
yeah,
cartoon. I mean, I'm not trying to
right.
be disrespectful, but I mean, her eyeshadow
Well,
and her makeup,
Which is why
just
they'll probably win makeup,
yeah,
honestly.
the way she
the way that
acts,
she speaks and
yeah,
behaves, right? I mean, she was such a, kind of abnormal, bizarre personality that in order to portray that faithfully without coming off like you're just trying to be this weird over the top, so I almost, like I said, I almost wondered if that would work against her, but I guess, she's got a nomination. So
yeah. And she's never
it's
won. She's beloved in Hollywood. She's never won. She's been great in The Help and Zero Dark 30 and a bunch of those movies. She's been nominated. Um, I think she'll probably win. Olivia Colman, I hear is an amazing performance, but probably won't win just because she just won like 2 years ago or 3 years
yeah,
ago.
right, right.
Nicole Kidman's already won. Penelope Cruz has already
That's
won.
true.
So I don't know. I hear a lot of people would be surprised if Nicole Kidman won because being the Ricardos maybe shouldn't have gotten that many nominations. I don't know. It kind of got a lot for
You
yeah.
know, with the benefit of a little bit of hindsight now, because I watched this in kind of a rush of movies back in kind of November, December. I'm looking back on it now and I'm thinking, yeah, no, that was a good movie, but it wasn't like amazing. And so, it's sometimes it's kind of hard to tell in the moment,
Yeah.
but it's, with a couple of months to reflect on it, it's not sticking with me the way that others have.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys might be upset, but I'm just going to jump ahead. Let's look
Do
at
it.
let's talk about Best Picture.
All right.
No, I was just gonna say real quick. I could tell you someone who I thought was snubbed for sound and visual effects. It should have been Godzilla versus Kong. I don't know
Oh.
why. I don't
And
know
Mecha
why.
Godzilla should have been Best Supporting Actor.
It really should have. Anyhow, sorry. So best picture.
Hey,
Jumping from that.
sincerely, if we can just kind of throw in one snub, I think that Belfast was completely underappreciated
I
for
did feel that.
cinematography.
Mm.
I thought that movie just looked, and this is, if I can throw my own credibility out here, like just with with a photography background,
Yeah.
you just have to love that movie.
Yeah.
So
And
so
and
here's the rule of snubs. Which one would you take out of the cinematography category?
let me scroll up. Hold on a second. So I didn't see Nightmare Alley. I mean that would be the easy choice, right? Because I didn't see it. I saw half of Power of the Dog, but it was a beautiful, dreary landscape, type of thing. Macbeth, I already mentioned, was really great. I mean, they're all good. And Dune, I mean, Dune looks really, really cool. West Side Story is interesting because I almost, it's almost like the choreography and the cinematography were so tied together
Yeah.
that maybe I would like favor the choreography side of it and drop the cinematography.
That might
But
be more
I
of like a
also,
director kind of thing.
Yeah.
yeah, but I
Yeah.
also can't say that the cinematography wasn't really good
Because
because it
was.
was.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Maybe they need to have a best choreography category in the Oscars.
Or maybe they just need to have 10 nominees
Yeah.
for every
Just for
category,
everything.
just so Belfast can get its due.
No, I
Okay.
was very surprised by that one, but I do hope that they get best director for that reason.
Oh,
I
for
hope.
Branagh? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I need to back up a minute. Did you say you've seen half of The Power of the Dog?
Yeah.
Was it the first half?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We got to talk after you watch the rest of it. We got to
I'm not
talk.
going to watch the rest of it.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, so I was kind of like trying to cruise through as many movies as I could justify taking the time to do before like the big critic association vote. And I knew that this one had been getting some, some publicity. And so it's like, okay, well, I kind of had this policy where I'm going to put the movie on, and a half hour into it, if I'm engaged and interested, I'll go ahead and keep watching. And if I kind of know already that like, nah, sorry, it's not doing it for me, I'm not going to waste my time, right? Because I'm exclusively looking for things that I'm going to vote for.
Yeah.
And so I started it on Power of the Dog, and it's like half hour in, I was kind of, God, this is just, kind of miserable. And oh, Benedict Cumberbatch is so mean and blah, 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 and all this. And it's like, okay, well, I'll give it a little longer. I'll give it another 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give it another 20 minutes. Okay, I'll give it an hour. I'm halfway through this, and it's just like, nope, I'm done.
Oh,
I'm done.
okay.
I'm not, because I just and then of course I go to the meeting, and everybody's talking about how it has such an awesome ending, and you just gotta take the 2 hours to get there. And I'm just thinking, I am not going. Even if I, as a critic, am unwilling to sit through 2 hours of this movie to get to this great ending, why on earth is anybody who is not, just like kind of your regular audience, you can't make them sit around for 2 hours and slog through it just because there's this great payoff at the end. And I don't know. So,
okay.
Because I know it's supposed to have like this, but then I'll tell you what, I already guessed the twist anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I could see that coming.
You could see it. Well, I was really engrossed with it. I love the acting in it, and I like the Greenwood score, the music by Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead. And
and the cinematography looks really good.
Yeah, I was into it. I was surprised. I mean, honestly, there were actually a couple parts I fast forwarded because I wasn't excited to see male nudity, so I didn't watch the whole movie. But I watched 95% of it, and I think it's great. In fact, I kind of want to watch it again. So maybe I'll watch it again for you to make up for your one that you didn't watch.
You go ahead. You watch it a second time, and then you can argue with yourself.
Yeah. So should we talk about?
Okay.
Best
Let's jump back into it.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Let's move on to Best Picture. I know we'd love to be able to break down all these categories, but let's hit the big ones.
Okay.
Best Picture, we have 10 nominees. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so basically, like everything that came out last year has been nominated for Best Picture,
except Spider-Man.
Except Spider-Man. Except Spider-Man. Now so I'm looking through these, and I'm saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 movies I've watched in their entirety. 2 movies I started and did not finish. 2 movies I did not even start.
What did you not finish besides The Power of the Dog?
Okay, yeah, so I only watched half of Power of the Dog. I only watched about the first 15 minutes of Drive My Car, which I believe put me about 2 hours and 45 minutes short of the final credits.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard the opening credits start 45 minutes in.
That's right. I heard that after. No, I was talking to Steve Sales, and I was just telling him, like, yeah, no, I kind of started that one and didn't get into it, and I don't know, because there's a lot of these that we watch in order to kind of have a vote and
be familiar.
When I'm trying to crank through so many movies, if it's apparent early on that I'm not really connecting with it, then I'm sorry. And so with Drive My Car, it's like I get like 10, 15 minutes into this thing, and it's like this is slow. This is like a slow, dreary movie about, oh my gosh, it's like these sex scenes and this dialogue about some woman having an affair or something, and it's just, sorry, I'm not going to spend my time with this.
Slow burn, yeah.
Not going to, and this was kind of pitched the same way. It's like, oh, well, it's really long and it's really kind of slow, but it's so good. And it's just, I'm sorry, I'm just not.
Yeah, I heard critics say.
I have other things to do.
I've noticed when critics use certain phrases, they're almost like little keywords, code words. When they say slow burn or patient or deliberate pacing, those are like code words for boring, basically.
Right. And there was nothing that was suggesting that this was worth.
Yeah.
Going all the way through it.
Sometimes it's worth it. Yeah, sometimes you power through a movie and you're like, I'm glad I watched that. And other times you're like, not for me, I'm done.
Yeah. And I feel like you can get that sense too. Like I mean, partway through Turning Red, I knew like I can see where this is going. I'm not going to care for the payoff or so.
Yeah. Palm Springs was one of those. I watched about the first 15 minutes of that.
Yeah,
and then
me too.
And then there were just some scenes in there, and there was enough swearing, and then there was a scene in there that I was like, all right, yeah, I'm not going to do this.
No, I think I turned it off when, like, he looks in the window and his wife or his girlfriend is
something's happening.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, yeah, so much for that.
Children.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the interest of time, let's get to the important stuff. Let's talk about the Best Picture nominees. I'm seeing 10 movies here. I'm seeing 6 that I saw. I'm seeing a couple that I saw part of and 2 that I didn't see at all. How are you guys? How did you?
I'm
You got
very
a
ashamed.
Do our
you
stats?
got a better batting
No.
average than
Well,
that.
I've
The
seen
thing is-
3 of these movies. I've seen 3,
Yeah,
so I
I've
have
seen
to
3.
abstain from voting. Although I'll give my opinions about all of them.
Yes.
Well, I think that's why I wanted
Oh,
to talk about all the other ones, because I've really enjoyed how a lot of films were very specifically gifted in certain areas, you know? But as far as, like, a Best Picture, I don't think there's anything I'm really rooting for. Because the ones that I did see, they were definitely good movies.
Okay, well let's
know?
hear what you guys did see. Mark, you go ahead. You said you saw 3 of
I
them.
saw Coda, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story.
Okay, Danny.
Saw Don't Look Up, Dune, and West Side Story.
Okay, so did you both say West Side Story?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, so I also saw West Side Story. Is that the only one that all 3 of us saw?
Did you not see Coda, Josh?
I saw Coda.
I
Oh.
did not see Coda.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Damn.
Danny didn't see Coda.
Still,
And that's why
yeah.
why Danny doesn't know that Coda should win, is because she hasn't seen it yet. That's the only reason.
Because of what you've said and because of what I've heard from a lot of people, that's probably the one I'm rooting for, because it feels more like the underdog.
Yeah.
It feels like a good original story, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But if not that one, I could see West Side winning, but also because like it
Me
won
too.
in the past, that might work against it. Belfast could win as well. The rest of them, I don't see them winning.
It's, you know, so here are the ones that I would be surprised to see win.
Okay.
I would be totally shocked if Don't Look Up won.
Oh my
Right.
gosh, yeah.
I would be really surprised if Dune won, not because I didn't like it, but because I just don't see it as the kind of movie that's going to win against
Exactly.
these options.
Exactly.
Nightmare Alley, I did not see.
But I'm still with you on all
I'd be
those.
surprised if Drive My Car, because I know that Drive My Car kind of has a following, but in terms of being kind of like the outsider foreign film to win, I don't get the sense that it has near the same quality as Parasite.
No, it doesn't. Parasite is a genre thriller. It was fun. It was very popular.
Yeah.
Right.
Drive My Car, I've heard, is a deliberately paced, patient, slow burn of a movie that's 3 hours
Are you calling
long.
it boring?
So,
Yeah.
yes.
No, but the other ones, many of which I saw, I wouldn't be surprised to see win, just because they seem like the types of movies that could win.
Like a licorice pizza kind of.
Yeah. Now Coda is the one that I am cheering for far and away above the others. And one of the reasons I like it so much is because it doesn't feel like a Best Picture movie. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's kind of one of those movies that, oh, that was my favorite movie last year, but it's not a quote unquote Oscar Best Picture type,
Yeah.
like West Side Story or Power of the Dog, you know,
Not a
even like
prestige.
Licorice Pizza.
Right.
Yeah.
It-
It doesn't, nothing about it says this is a prestige movie.
Right.
It's just a good movie that I could have seen be completely under the radar with most people. And so I'm thrilled that it's gotten nominated, just because
yeah.
it was far and away my favorite movie.
I would love.
I'm not expecting it to win,
Yeah,
but it would be awesome.
I
if
would
it did.
love to see it win, but yeah, not a famous director, no famous actors other than maybe Marlee Matlin, who's won before. It's a smaller movie, although it ended up getting bought by Apple from Sundance, for $25
Yeah,
million.
right.
But
so now
here's,
it's also
here's
kind
why,
of a streaming movie, kind of. So.
Yeah, but here's a little
Yeah.
hint. Here's something that it has going for it. That there's a little
tell me.
theory that it actually could win Best Picture. By the way, it's also not nominated for Best Director, so that's a strike against it. It won the top ensemble, like Best Ensemble at the SAG Awards, which often does go to the Best Picture winner, and that was a big shocker. That was a surprise win.
Yeah.
So Marlee Matlin, Troy Kotsur, Emilia Jones, all those people got to go on stage and sign. You know, they had interpreters. Troy Kotsur is going to win the Best Supporting Actor Oscar, by the way. But like, so Coda, like Parasite, won the Best Ensemble. So there are some people that believe it could win. It could come very close, especially with the ranked voting preference of Best Picture. I think, though, I would still pick Power of the Dog to win.
Okay.
But yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised at all if Power of the Dog won, because it seems like that kind of movie.
Right.
You know what I
That
mean?
is
It's
the
hard to
Oscar kind of
categorize,
thing.
but it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that totally seems like the kind of movie that
Yeah.
you know, people would get.
Belfast is also one that could win. It's won
Yeah.
some awards, but and it's sort of like Roma, which came out a few years ago, which is sort of a
Sure. Yeah.
you know, a passion, personal project for its director about his homeland, kind of like Alfonso Cuarón's Mexico City depiction, and it's black and white. And Roma won Best Director that year, but it did not win Best Picture, which went.
I'm
to
thinking
Green
that
Book.
might be what happens here. I could see it winning Best Director. I'm not sure about Best
You think that Brownell might get Best
Yeah.
Director? and
Campion.
then-
Well, especially if they didn't get a cinematography nomination
Yeah.
for that one. Like I think.
Well, and it would make sense if Coda won Best Picture, then you know
Maybe,
it can't win Best Director.
Yeah,
Exactly,
I think Jane Campion is. In fact, I've even heard that the Oscars may not want to give Best Picture to Power of the Dog, but Jane Campion is going to win Best Director. But then maybe Coda or Belfast wins Best Picture. But it's hard to say. But I think, Josh, I think you're right about.
Like that.
Yeah, I think you're right about like Don't Look Up not winning, Drive My Car not winning.
Yeah.
Right.
Dune,
Right.
you know, probably not, although it may be the most visually, but it's probably not going to win.
It's definitely going to win a Best Visual, I think.
Yeah.
Well, and because here's a question that is related, but maybe you guys can't quite answer.
Okay.
Is how many of these? Because this to me is a very defining question.
Mm-hmm.
How many of these movies would you actually want in your own permanent collection?
I bought Belfast because I wanted to watch it before
You already
the
have?
Oscars, so it's on its way.
Yeah.
But
Because I'm thinking probably at least 3 of these.
I'd say the same.
I would say worthy. Belfast, Coda, and Dune, I think would be ones that I would want permanent copies of.
I'd like to own West Side Story too. That one was a good one.
I really like that. Yeah, and I own it on Disney Plus. I like Licorice Pizza. I mean, I like Paul Thomas Anderson.
Paul Thomas
I haven't
Anderson,
seen Licorice Pizza, but I plan to watch that because I've liked a lot of his movies.
Yeah,
quite
no,
a bit.
you'll like that. You'll like that. You'll love, and see that was another snub for me. Was I love Bradley Cooper. His
I figured you'd want him
Oh
for
my gosh.
supporting actor.
holy cow, he was so funny in
Well,
that.
that was another one that I thought was snubbed with West Side Story. Mike Feist, I think is his name.
Oh,
Who
yeah.
plays Riff.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
goodness,
right.
I don't know how he wasn't nominated for Best
He was
Supporting
so
Actor.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
He stole the scene in every scene he was in. Like
He was. Yep.
absolutely incredible. So
Yeah. Ariana DeBose is going to win, though, so that's nice.
Definitely,
Best
yeah.
Supporting Actress.
Yeah, no,
I
she
feel
was
reassured
good.
there.
She was good. Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, like as I'm looking over these, it is really kind of the same problem we've been talking about, right? Which is that most people are not going to be very familiar with the majority of these. Like outside of like Dune, they're going to be like, what was, you know, and West Side Story. West Side Story was a general pleaser.
here's my thought though, because a lot of these are available on streaming services. So I do wonder if because of that, because I recognize all of these. I feel like a lot of years I didn't even recognize half of them, but I know of every single one of these. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I've seen more of these than I have seen in recent years, and that was just like coincidental viewings. It wasn't like I was like how you, Josh, you were purposefully watching all the like top tier movies, right? So I do
Purposely,
feel
yes.
like this is a little, and maybe it's because there were fewer movies last year where it's like
I think it's because you're a film student and you're making positive changes and resolutions in your life.
that could be.
Did you think
All
last
going
year's
downhill from here.
Did you think last year's choice was the right one for Nomadland?
I was just going to ask you, was Nomadland the winner?
For me, I would have
I
picked.
liked Nomadland just fine. I don't What were you going to pick, Mark?
The
Because I'm
Father.
trying to remember what else was there.
I would have picked The Father, and then maybe
Oh, I didn't see
Minari.
that.
Minari.
Yeah, Minari was good. I didn't actually see The Father.
Oh, that was my
I know.
favorite movie,
Yeah.
I think, of the year.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what else. Because the same type of deal, you know.
Mank.
I mean,
Yeah, see, these ones,
Mank,
I didn't
Sound
know
of Metal,
any of them.
Trial of the Chicago
Mink I
Seven.
couldn't get into. Mink I could not get into.
Promising Young Woman was
Sound
cool.
of Metal was good. Promising Young Woman was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
The
Judas and
Chicago
the-
7,
Judas and the Black Messiah.
that one I didn't see.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one either.
See, but I didn't even hear about half of these.
Well, but
Yeah.
isn't this a good question though? Is like how many of these can you even remember a year later? Do
Yeah.
you even remember these?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't seen. I've seen about half of those. I did see the Trial of the Chicago 7.
Mhm.
It was good. It's kind of like a TV movie. It didn't feel.
Mhm.
Kind of felt like one of those movies that only slid into Best Picture category because of the pandemic. Because there were lots of movies that were not released that were planned to be
Exactly.
in 2020.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I liked The Father quite a bit. In fact, I right after I saw it that
No, I heard
night,
good things about it.
probably
I
at like midnight, I went and wrote a review on Facebook because I just wanted to talk about it so bad and like share my thoughts. And so I loved it. I thought it was great.
Well, Mark, the readers and listeners to the Utah.film website and Utah Film Pod would love to get your full breakdown of any of these movies, as I would say from Danny, and maybe they want to hear from me too. But I don't know. Any final thoughts before the Oscars of 2022 give us their final verdicts?
For me, I'm excited that there's a host again. I think it's dumb to do it without a host. They're doing three hostesses, MCs. I don't know what you're supposed to call them now, but yeah.
That just means they're not doing Ricky Gervais, and so I'm already like,
Yeah.
Thumbs down.
But I agree. It's kind of cringy when there isn't. Although sometimes the host can be cringy too, but
Right.
I don't know. It's kind of no win right now, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'll be watching them though.
Yeah, no,
I hope it's a
absolutely.
better production than last year, just because.
It's
And
not
granted,
sad.
it was just weird.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like this weird dinner party where everybody was just a little bit awkward and uncomfortable, and
So a dinner party.
yeah. Well,
like the dinner party from The Office.
Oh.
oh my goodness. Oh, yeah. Just a moment of silence in honor of that gem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to listen to the Utah Film Pod. On behalf of Mark and Danny and myself, we appreciate your support. And if you have any comments or questions or thoughts or rants or anything, just go on the interwebs and throw them our way, and we'll think about responding maybe. I don't know. But have yourself a good one, and we'll see you on the flip side of the Oscars. Take care.